Looks like larynx. Upper item upper, right?
Yeah, it's the, well, we'll call it the larynx, and you see that white. So this whole thing right here is the larynx, parts of it. You see this piece of cartilage right here? That's the thyroid cartilage. Below it, there's a heavy ring right here. That's the cricoid. So those two you could identify from right here. That's the cricoid, right there. That's the thyroid cartilage. The rest of this is trachea, 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 trachea. We follow it down, and you'll see it splits, right? Right there. That's your right and left primary bronchus. So trachea splits into two bronchi. Now these are what I meant by lobes of the lung. See how separated they are on the cat? And they have a lot more than we do. But going into each lobe then should be...
He cut the heart out.
So you see this lobe I'm holding right here, that airway going into it, that's a secondary bronchi. So the primary splits into secondaries going to each of these lobes. And then if you actually remove lung tissue, if we're lucky,
Oh my God.
depending how dry this is, we should, any branches coming off of this should be the tertiary bronchi. I wear my glasses for them on my neck. Hang on a second.
All up in your eyes. Now you have cat funk in your eye.
Cat scratch fever.
Okay.
That looks like one right there. So I'm within a lobe. See that little airway coming off there? That should be a tertiary. So you got primary, secondary, and if you're in the lung itself, that's a tertiary branch there. Then of course I'm touching visceral pleura. Parietal pleura has a little fungus on it, but this is all the parietal pleura lining the inside of the rib cage. Diaphragm we got here. Those lobes of the lung. That's about it. The only other thing I could do.
Poor cat.
And feel a thing.
Look at its tongue.
Doesn't move. This squish, squish, that soft palate. And then
Show
if I
the
can get all the way down.
Oh.
See this? Ooh, it's little textured tongue. You can see the part in the back.
There's sandpaper.
You know, the sandpaper tongue. Nope, that's still okay.
I didn't know there was more to break.
Ah, here it is. Look at this. I'll talk about this in lecture, but this is a soft palate right here. See it? You see this thing right here? That's the epiglottis. Now, this is not the way it is in a human. Their epiglottis, their larynx, is above their soft palate. I mean, this way up here on us. Humans have a descended larynx. It's unusual. Most other animals, that's why this guy, it's hard to choke if you're a dog or a cat because your inlet for your airways is above your soft palate. Whereas ours is lower. We get a lot more junk in our airways. This is also why, important biological here, you know when you see pictures of coyotes howling at the moon? They're not howling at the moon. If their head were down, all the sound would come out their nose and they go, they sound like it. They're lifting their head up to disengage the larynx from the soft palate so it comes out, the sound comes out their mouth. So here, we'll pull it up a little bit, and there's the epiglottis on these guys. Now what's interesting is babies have the same setup as these guys. When you're first born, your larynx is above your soft palate. The advantage for that is they can nurse and breathe at the same time. You try that, you can't do it. Or just drink and talk at the same time or breathe at the same time. Can't do it. And then about 6 months of age, that's when in a human the larynx drops down. That's also where you get the higher incidence of sudden infant death syndrome when they're switching from obligate nose breathers to mouth breathers. Now I'm going to see if I can remove the soft palate here.
You can remove it.
I'm just going to reflect it out of the way because I'm going to see if I can find the openings to the auditory tubes.
Is that like...
All right, there's a little hole. It's filled with fluid now, unfortunately, right here.
Bless you.
That little opening right there that the pin's in. Here, I'll make it a little more permanent. That is the opening to the auditory tube.
Can you flash your light again?
Oh.
What that's going through is, there's one on either side, but that one's now marked. That's the opening of the auditory or your station tube that goes to your middle ear. So yeah, your nose drops go in here and they could affect that right there. They're connected.
See? I can't touch it.